Sylvia Vanderpool was born on May 29, 1935, in Harlem, New York. Her birth came at a time when the cultural spark of the Harlem Renaissance had not fully faded, and music filled every corner of the neighborhood, from church choirs to corner stoops, blues clubs to street corners. Raised by her parents in a tight-knit household of West Indian heritage, Sylvia absorbed rhythm and melody as naturally as she breathed. From a young age, she found herself drawn to the sound of voices carried through radios and from the windows of neighborhood apartments. Her family recognized her talents early and supported her growing desire to perform. While other children played outside, she was often seated at a piano, exploring chords and vocal phrasing. By her teens, Sylvia's singing voice had matured into something sultry, smooth, and unmistakably original. She started performing under the name Little Sylvia, cutting her first sides with Columbia Records in the early 1950s. Her records at this stage were polished but carried the grit of real experience. Her lyrics reflected longing and love, but her delivery suggested confidence and control. In 1954, Sylvia met Mickey Baker, a talented but often difficult guitarist known in jazz and R&B circles for his explosive skill. Though their personalities clashed at times, Baker was mercurial and intense, Sylvia cool-headed and driven. Their musical chemistry was undeniable. Their sessions as Mickey and Sylvia gave birth to something electric. In 1956, they recorded Love is Strange, a playful, flirtatious duet that strayed from typical R&B formulae. Its back-and-forth banter and Latin-influenced guitar lines turned heads. It climbed the charts quickly, reaching #1 on the R&B chart and cracking the top 20 of the pop list. The song's charm wasn't rooted in polish, but in how natural it felt. Sylvia's confident vocals dancing around Mickey's guitar, with pauses, hesitations, and an occasional burst of laughter. It became a cultural touchstone, featured in films, and covered by future generations of artists. Mickey and Sylvia recorded more material together, but the partnership wore thin. By the end of the decade, they had parted ways professionally. Though Sylvia had tasted success, she was far from done. While many performers chase stage lights endlessly, Sylvia had a different vision. She recognized that true power in the industry came from behind the scenes, from those who controlled the songs, the studios, the releases. She married Joseph Robinson, and together they launched All Platinum Records in the 1960s from a modest house in Englewood, New Jersey. The label began with rhythm and blues records and slowly gained traction. Sylvia handled more than vocal coaching. She arranged, produced, and occasionally co-wrote material. At a time when few black women held executive positions in the recording business, she made decisions without apology. Artists like The Moments and Brother to Brother scored regional hits under her guidance. Though she still recorded on occasion, it was becoming increasingly clear that Sylvia's talents extended far beyond the microphone. In 1973, she re-emerged as a performer in a way few expected. Sylvia recorded Pillow Talk, a sultry, minimalist track that pulsed with tension and desire. With whispered lines and a gentle, hypnotic rhythm, the song was unlike anything else on the airwaves. It went to #1 on the R&B chart and broke the Pop Top 5. The song was banned on some radio stations for its sensual tone, but that only helped it spread. At nearly 40 years old, Sylvia had reclaimed her place in the public imagination, not through nostalgia, but by pushing boundaries. She received a gold record for Pillow Talk, and rather than tour relentlessly, returned to her role as an executive, producer, and visionary. She could have faded into the industry's quieter corners, running her label and collecting royalties. Instead, she made a decision that would alter music history. By the late 1970s, Sylvia had noticed something happening in New York clubs, block parties, and underground shows. DJs were looping breakbeats while young MCs rapped over the rhythm. The movement hadn't yet made its way onto records. Major labels dismissed it as a fad. Sylvia saw possibility. In 1979, she founded Sugar Hill Records. Using her business acumen, musical instincts, and absolute refusal to be ignored, she assembled the Sugar Hill Gang, recorded Rapper's Delight, and released it independently. It was the first rap single to achieve major success. The song's infectious beat, drawn from Chic's Good Times, combined with the brash charm of the group's lyrics, created a tidal wave. Many laughed at the idea of rap as a commercial force. Sylvia knew better. She had not only produced the track, she had arranged the studio session, pushed for its release, and oversaw every detail of its rollout. She wasn't a passive observer of a new genre. She was at the helm of its first breakthrough. Following Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Records became a powerhouse. Sylvia worked closely with acts like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Sequence, and Funky 4+1. She encouraged experimentation while keeping a close eye on the bottom line. Though known for her charm, Sylvia could be ruthless when necessary. She understood that the music business wasn't a game. It was a war of timing, taste, and tenacity. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five's The Message, released in 1982, was another daring move. The song tackled urban decay, violence, and frustration. Sylvia believed in its power and pushed for its release. Her gamble paid off. The song earned critical acclaim, and over time has been hailed as one of the most influential tracks in the genre's early history. But not everything at Sugar Hill was harmonious. Financial disputes, questions over royalties, and growing competition from newer labels led to tensions. Many of Sugar Hill's artists eventually parted ways with the label. Lawsuits followed. Sylvia, undeterred, continued producing and developing new acts, but the early momentum was harder to sustain. Still, her role in bringing hip-hop into the public ear could not be denied. She had moved from performer to producer, from behind the mic to behind the curtain, shaping genres and careers with an authority that few in her position, especially women, had ever held. While Sylvia was trailblazing professionally, her personal life bore its own weight. Her marriage to Joe Robinson was often turbulent. They ran their labels together, but their relationship was marked by tension and competition. Sylvia had children and worked long hours, juggling domestic life with boardroom pressure. Despite the stress, she rarely lost her composure. Friends and collaborators described her as soft-spoken but decisive. She preferred velvet over steel, but she knew when to be unyielding. She mentored younger artists, offered opportunities to local talent, and rarely chased the spotlight. In the 1990s and early 2000s, she retreated somewhat from public life. The music world had changed, and while she remained respected, she was no longer at the center of the conversation. Still, those who remembered the origins of rap, R&B, and pop knew exactly who she was and what she had done. She never needed a tribute concert or a documentary to prove her place in music history. Her fingerprints were already on some of its most unforgettable moments. In her final years, Sylvia suffered from heart conditions and other ailments. She was still involved in music, albeit less actively. She spent more time with family and close friends, reflecting on a life few could imagine. On September 29, 2011, she passed away in Secaucus, New Jersey, at age 76. News of her death moved quickly among those who knew her story. While some headlines remembered her as the mother of hip-hop, others returned to Pillow Talk or Love is Strange. All were true. None were enough. She had lived multiple lives: child prodigy, teenage singer, duet partner, chart-topping soloist, record executive, producer, label founder, genre gate opener. Her legacy wasn't bound by era or trend. It was built on decisions few others dared to make.